this is certainly unexpected. Welcome back, Canonites, for the latest Canon Fodder, issue number 104. There's some fun stuff to discuss, so let's dive right in. Starting us off is the big news from last week, the release of Fort Jordan, a remake of Fort Dean from Halo Wars 1, and its free release for Halo Wars 2. Like Fort Dean, named for Ensemble's Tim Dean, Fort Jordan is named for 343's Matt Jordan, the map's designer. The story of how the map came to be is detailed in its own dedicated update, which I've linked below. Basically, hours of messing around in Halo Wars 2's map editor resulted in an updated version of Fort Dean. If you haven't read it and enjoyed behind the scenes stuff, definitely check the link out. Anyway, like any good Halo Wars 2 map, Fort Jordan comes to us with its own Phoenix log, and like many others, it's a great read. To sum things up, we're introduced to Corporal Kyla Emmett, an ODST and Boomerang company, in the aftermath of a banished raid. Kyla and other Spirit of Fire forces have been sent to a strategically located island on the Ark, the titular Fort Jordan, only to find a contingent of Banished had been sent as well. Why? To salvage anything usable from a nearby Covenant ship, one of the many left behind after the Battle of Installation 00 in 2552. The Banished warlord had taken out the UNSC's long-range comms and has so far been too proud to call it for reinforcements. Now, with only a Mastodon APC to back them up, and the next Banished raid on the way, Corporal Emmett is ready to make one last stand. It's an absolute sad fact that I haven't dived into the stories told via the multiplayer map's Phoenix logs in Halo Wars 2, and either from my summary of Fort Jordan's or the full text in the article itself for Halo Wars 2, I think you can see why I lament that fact. Maybe I can try to remedy that this year, we'll see. But anyway, Fort Jordan's Phoenix log is a great little story of the continuing struggle on the Ark. Moving on, the next section advertises the recently released Halo Renegades, full review pending, which, as you may know, I cannot recommend enough. There's an audiobook excerpt available on YouTube if you're still on the fence about this book, which of course I have linked both in the card at the top right and in the description box. And if you decide to get the audiobook, well, consider using my Audible affiliate link. Wink, wink. Next up is a funny, Canon-inspired recap of the most recent 343 social stream, which brought back former host GrimBrotherOne as a guest. He and host Snickerdoodle entertained as they took on Covenant forces in Spartan Ops, finding themselves thwarted and supported by a Spartan known only as RD. Definitely check out the full stream, which I have linked below, but for now, enjoy a little off-canon summary of events provided by Grim himself. Fresh out of the final stages of training, newly minted Spartan 4 RD Verret found himself in a harrowing situation when the Pelican carrying he and the rest of Fireteam Forest was shot down over the inner surface of Requiem. Their attempts at securing the local Apex site were made immediately more complicated by the additional task of providing support for Fireteam Crimson as they tried to secure a Covenant power core by stealing it from a Lich. Following a protracted groundside battle that saw RD display an incredible penchant for proving wrong the notion of high percentage shots while wielding a seemingly unwieldable Spanker rocket launcher, Crimson and Forest successfully boarded the enemy craft. After procuring the power core through deft skill and pristine planning, the mission took an unforeseen turn when RD commandeered the squad's Warthog while still in the Lich's entry bay, a maverick move of strategic indifference that still confounds Infinity's command. While the true nature of events on Requiem that day are largely shrouded in tall tales and black ink, one thing is for certain. The universe bore witness to a Spartan who proved as equal a threat to his own kind as to the Covenant themselves. Jerk. Spartan AIs, man. Anyway, after that we have a little shout out for the new lore surrounding Outpost Discovery from a couple weeks ago. While I covered this more in depth in another video, Grim does confirm here that the blue Spartan is ONB096 and the brown Hazel 302, as many suspected. Outpost Discovery will start its countrywide tour in July, and I can't wait for August when it's coming to Chicago. I really hope it goes well this first year. It's a great concept that I'd love to see expanded upon in years to come. Next up is a brief ad for the upcoming Halo Lone Wolf Issue 3, releasing tomorrow. Stay tuned later this week for that review. After that, we have a particularly tasty treat in the form of 2 pieces of Halo Infinite concept art that fans may recognize. These featured pieces are full, uncropped versions of art seen in last year's official Spartan Field Guide. The first shows a few Spartans in a rare moment of respite as they relax and clean their kit. More notable though is the more traditional look of their Mjolnir armor. While this art and the piece that follows shouldn't be taken as anything more than just concepts, nothing concrete, I think fans wouldn't be too remiss to take the look of these armors as a general idea of what we can expect from Infinity's armory. The aforementioned second piece shows a lineup of Spartan 4s and a variety of Mjolnir, some familiar such as what looks like Helljumper in a couple places, two entirely new designs. Although again, it's just concept art, so don't take anything as final. Interestingly though, as pointed out to me by CIA391, the emblem on the far right is that of Fireteam Shadow, as first introduced in their Mega Constructs line. Again, not really indicative of anything, but a cool little nod to Mega Constructs. Next up are some things that we just talked about but definitely deserve mention again, the Halopedia Halo Nation merger, and the launch of Halopedia's dedicated forums. In addition, Grim also features an article by Brendan Lore Lowry. Brendan is a writer for Windows Central, but also has a personal blog where he posts analytical pieces on video games that are always a treat to read. In particular, today Grim highlights a piece titled The Sangheili Renaissance, Cultural and Artistic Advancement in the Post-War Era. As you may have guessed, the article is a look at how Sangheili culture has evolved, particularly in the years following the fall of the Covenant. Definitely give it a read, it's linked below. And bringing things to a close is a little piece on Fred 104. It's the 104th Canon Fodder, so how could you not talk about Fred? However, this isn't GrimBrotherOne singing the praises of Fred's unbridled greatness, but GrimBrother4. After reading it, I can only imagine that me and Matt would get along famously. The man is clearly one of culture when it comes to his taste in Spartans. And that wraps things up for this issue. A nice little dive into some new lore and a celebration of my favorite Spartan. Before we go though, I'd like to point anyone viewing this to a couple of interesting things. First is an IGN interview with 343 Industries studio head Bonnie Ross in the wake of her receiving a Hall of Fame award at the DICE Awards. Bonnie sat down with Ryan McCaffrey to talk about the award, her career, and most interestingly to this audience, what lessons from Halo 4 and 5 are being applied to Halo Infinite. The second is less lore related, but Ms. Ross also found her way onto CBS's 60 Minutes as the show covered diversity in tech and gaming. Both of these are linked below and definitely worth your time. That's it for now. Look forward to a Lone Wolf review later this week, and if things go well, a look at Spartan 2s that are still around in Halo's current setting. Thanks for watching, and until then, this has been Halo Canon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.